Nathaniel, and I'm Pam, his mother, and my husband Stan.
Hello.
And he's 9 years old. He was diagnosed with Dravet syndrome at the age of 15 months. Prior to being diagnosed, he was on seizure meds that really made him seize 24/7. So at least we had the diagnosis of the DNA sequencing, and they say, hey, let's try this cocktail of drugs, which seemed to work okay for a while, and then he would go through good months and very bad months. He is able to go to school, he's able to walk, nonverbal, he's mainly interacts with like visual stimulation. Fox. When he goes to sleep at night, I wonder if I'm going to hear him seizing, or would he suffocate if his face is in the pillow? So, I mean, there's just the constant, worry that his dad and I have with just him dying from this disease.
Right, this is Haley, and Haley is 5, and I'm her mother, Sharina. And Haley has a disorder called CDKL5. It affects about 600 kids in the world. When Haley was 9 weeks old, she had her first grand mal seizure, and it sent her to the emergency room, where they had to airlift her to another hospital. And there were only about 150 diagnosed cases in the whole world at the time. So there was really no research, no information available on the internet. And through talking to other parents, I had to figure out what would be a good treatment option, because we kept failing the drugs. They just didn't work for Haley. At the age of 2, Haley had a device implanted into her chest called a vagal nerve stimulator, which goes into the left side, and it's like a pacemaker device. The scariest part about the seizures is that you never know when they're going to come. A lot of them are in her sleep, and you never know if you wake up in the morning and go into her room if it's going to be her last day. You don't know. I just never know, if this is going to be her last day. That's the main thing that I worry about, is which seizure is going to be the one. How many more can her little body take? After failing to obtain seizure control with 12 medications, the IVIG treatment, the ACTH steroids, the vagus nerve stimulator, and the ketogenic diet, and Haley's not a candidate for brain surgery because her damage is so widespread in her brain and the seizures are spiking from all different lobes. She's not a candidate, so there's nothing left for us to try. And after all of this, I began to feel like things were never going to change, until I heard about this little girl named Charlotte Figge. It really touched close to home because my daughter was just like Charlotte. She was seizing hundreds of times in 1 month. And after seeing the success Charlotte had with it, I felt compelled to go after this treatment, whatever it took. I wanted to try it. And once she was put on the CBD oil, she started to come around. She went from having 1,200 seizures a month to having basically 1 to 3. And that is unheard of with epilepsy. It's absolutely a miracle. It is a miracle to have your child go from seizing constantly, having seizures, to being able to not only have seizure freedom, but to gain cognition, to participate in life, to communicate, to speak, to stand up, to do things that people just think are normal things. You take it for granted that you can speak, that you can eat, that you can walk, that you can do all these things. And these children cannot do that. My child doesn't do any of these things. And it would just be amazing. It would change my life and the life of my child tremendously if she did get to try this treatment and she did have the success that all of the other children are having. That's what I want, is just a chance to try it. Because if it works, my life would be so different. Her life would be normal. It would be so special for Haley to be able to attend birthday parties. It would be awesome for Haley to say, "Hi, Mom. Good morning, Mom. I love you, Mom." I have never, ever heard that. See, the thing is that she doesn't get to play with children, and she hears their laughter, and she hears them playing, and she wants to be a part of it. And she should not be deprived of that just because some people think a derivative of a marijuana plant is bad. And Charlotte's Web has had 0 side effects, nothing but benefits.
We're Dylan and Kelly Morley, and this is Mia, our daughter. She's 6. Mia has a form of intractable epilepsy called Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. We discovered before she was a year old that she was missing milestones developmentally, and had concerns. And on her first birthday, she had her first EEG, and it was discovered she was having 2 to 3 seizures a minute. And that started our now over 5-year battle with epilepsy. And unfortunately, the first drug she was put on, trileptal, actually caused a different form of seizure that created a head drop or atonic seizure. And through the years, we've been through over 12 different anti-epileptic medications. She's failed all of those. And in addition to that, she failed the ketogenic diet. She also has a vagal nerve stimulator implanted in her chest.
We have lived in Wilmington for
19 years.
We both went to UNCW, graduates of UNCW. This is our home. We've raised 3 children here. Mia is our middle child. Like we said, she's 6. We also have an 8-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter, Madeline. Our son's name is Jack. Wilmington is our home. It's with a heavy heart that we are thinking about leaving to get some better medical options for Mia.
We've spent the last 5 years trying to build a life for Mia here. And it's been very hard work. There's been a lot of sacrifices to try to give her the best care we can give her. Unfortunately, with Mia's case, we don't have the time to wait. She's been through every medication possible. We've been told that she's out of options medically. She had to reduce her one medication that's worked for the best because of complications from Cushing's syndrome. So her seizures are starting to come back. And
manifesting in a new form, which is hard to see.
And we can't wait. So we made the decision that we're going to move to Colorado to try this medication that so many parents are saying is working. It's reported that over 80% are seeing better than a 50% reduction. So it's very difficult to understand why the zip code has to determine what kind of treatment your child can get. So we've made the decision to move, but I feel like it's our moral obligation to make sure that families behind us that have the same difficulties and sacrifices that they have to make, they won't have to be faced with one of the most difficult decisions, which is to leave your family behind, the life you've built, the job, the church, the doctors who know her, the services that help, and try to start over somewhere else.
I think we're really fortunate that we're able to move as well. There's a lot of families that, whether it's financially or what have you, don't have the option to move. Sure, this would not be our first choice. We would much rather stay here, but gratefully, it is something we can do, and it is something that we will do. We have to do it for her. We have to give her the chance.
And that's the downside, is every kid deserves a chance. And you shouldn't have to move to get that chance for something that is being shown to work with less side effects than the drugs that she's been given, some of which aren't even FDA approved or they're prescribed off label and have horrible side effects. She's experienced drug-induced psychosis. She's had Cushing's syndrome, severe weight gain. The medication she has cause heart failure, liver damage, kidney failure, so many more, and they can cause death. I mean, the side effects of what can be offered through the medicinal cannabis and the cannabis oil that's so high in CBD, which is helpful, and so low in THC, which is the part that causes the high. The kids aren't getting high from this. It just doesn't seem fair, and it just doesn't seem right that you should have to leave your home to find help and find hope.
Lucas has always been a very active kid. I think. Good job.
Dude.
You know, his favorite thing to do is be outside playing baseball, riding his bicycle, running around with other kids, basketball, and the decline that we've seen since he started taking all these different medications has been immense, not just in his physical abilities, but also in his mental capacities, where he was excelling in preschool and learning something new every day. So that he memorized my phone number at barely 4 years old. He started calling me from our house phone. I said, "Where did you learn that?" He said, "Oh, you just kept saying it, so I remembered it." I'm like, okay, to a kid now that during his kindergarten assessment, they told me he could only name 5 letter sounds, which I know must be incorrect because my son knows every letter of the alphabet, and I know that the reason this is happening is because he's in such a mental fog from all of the chemical medications that we're giving him. We're trying all these different benzodiazepines and all these other anti-epileptic drugs that are not showing any improvement in his seizures and causing all of these delays for him. So for us, the worst thing is seeing what was and what could have been to what he's now going through, where he can't even remember, the names of people that he met earlier in the day.
He can't tell us the names of the kids he sits next to in kindergarten every day.
We found out recently that the cause of Lucas's epilepsy is an SCN1A genetic mutation, and that severely limits the kind of medications that he can take. In fact, he's been on several medications that he shouldn't have been taking because they actually irritate the epilepsy. Anything that's a sodium channel blocking medication, he shouldn't have taken. He was on 3 of those for a year. And the idea that CBD oil is out there and it's helping other children with the same sort of genetic mutation that he has, who are suffering a much more severe kind of epilepsy, it blows my mind that we can't try it for him.
It's really frustrating that we can put him on these medications that have such severe side effects, like the one that he's taking now. If the dosage goes up much higher, he might stop sweating. Or the benzodiazepines that affect his short-term memory, or the Depakote, which makes him have muscle spasms if it's too high. We can give him all these things, but we can't take this extract out of a plant and use it. It's like saying we shouldn't use medical-grade morphine because it comes from a plant that you can make heroin from. It just doesn't make any sense to me. This plant extract is. It's being used in other places to effectively treat this type of thing, and we can't have it. And I don't understand why.
And Lucas and all of the other children who are suffering from this. They definitely deserve the best treatment that they can have, and for people to say that just because someone uses it in an irresponsible way, that our children can't have a CBD oil that's low in THC and high in the things that are going to help make their seizures stop. It's cruel to do that to these children.
I think for the second time this month, he's hooked up to a video EEG for more than 24 hours, where he's pretty much confined to this bed while they get the EEG readings.
This morning they let us know that the EEG was showing subclinical seizures, which are they're
basically it's seizure activity in the brain that doesn't manifest in outward physical symptoms.
So there have been times when there was one instance where he was riding his bicycle and fell because he had a seizure and smashed his face. And I have a lot of parents ask, like, how do you let your child get on a bicycle or go swimming
or even like climb on the monkey bars. And it's like, well, if we are able to get access to CBD oil and he can go back to doing all these things unsupervised, like I don't want to take that freedom away from him and make him feel like he has to live a sheltered life just because he has epilepsy, because his epilepsy should not govern who he is and who he becomes. And unless we get access to a medication that will help his seizures, I'm afraid that that's exactly what's going to happen, because his seizures for the past few days have been so bad that, you know, he's getting paralysis on the left side of his body after each seizure, which are happening every 45 minutes to an hour. And it's not that, you know, 30 seconds to a minute long seizures every hour throughout the night that starts to add up. So it's definitely, it's not what we want for him. I mean, nobody wants this for their children, absolutely not. But we do know that there is hope out there, and we're really fighting for it, for our children, for other kids across the country who are dealing with the same things. I mean, maybe if North Carolina can do it, you know, Colorado and South Carolina and Georgia and all these other places can do it, you know, we can do it. We can get it here for them.
I'm in the military, and I'm stationed at Fort Bragg, and I have an occupation in the military that requires me to be gone frequently, kind of on a 6 months home, 8 months home, 6 months deployed kind of rotation. And it really leaves Jamie to deal with this on her own a lot. You know, not to mention that even while I'm deployed, I do my best to stay in touch with my family. I hear about what's going on with his progression or lack thereof. And, you know, it's already a helpless feeling that we can't do anything about it when I'm miles and miles and countries away from home. You know, it makes it just that much more frustrating, and makes me feel that much more helpless. I would give it all up in a heartbeat if I thought that being stationed in Colorado would mean that I would be able to get the treatments that my son needs that might help him. We love North Carolina, and we'd love to stay here, and we're hopeful that this will pass, that we'll have access to this medication in this state. But if not, we're ready to do whatever it takes, even if that means transferring to a different post. You know, we're very fortunate that Jamie's mom lives here, and is close by. My dad is just 2 hours away, and they're a great support system. There's so much help. It's great to have, you know, the kids' grandparents involved in their life. If we had to leave, they would lose that. I know that they would do whatever they could to be as present as they could be, but it certainly wouldn't be easy. You know, it'd just be another hardship.
Okay, well, I'm Tiffany. I am mom.
I'm Brandon, dad.
And this is Miss Amaya. She is 3. She started having seizures at 28 days old. Pregnancy, everything was normal, and then boom, out of nowhere. My first Mother's Day was at Chapel Hill Hospital, and they put her on Tegretol and phenobarbital. It caused seizures for people instead of helping them. So I told her doctor I want to wean her off. Instead of dropping the dosage, he upped the dosage. And at this point in time, I was a year old, a little bit over a year old, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. I'm weaning her off the medicine. It's not helping. She's still having seizures daily. I'm taking her off of it. So I started weaning her off. She gets physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. Her physical therapist was like, oh my God, in a week's first week of just starting to wean her off, was like, oh my God, it's a completely different child. She started laughing. She started sitting up. She started interacting more. So then, I don't want to have to move to a completely different state just to get her what she needs. Now she's still on all this other medication that's not working. So we have tried phenobarbital, Topamax, Tegretol, Keppra, Onify, her emergency medicines, which I absolutely hate those. What was the first one? Diazepam. That talked to the doctor, then he put her on, that's when she got the midazolam, right? Mm-hmm. So then she's on midazolam now, So we haven't really had to use it because try to talk her out of it before it gets too bad, so I don't have to use it because that just dopes her up and she just laying there. So all the medicines, they'll seem to work 2 weeks at the tops, 2 weeks, and then it's right back to the same thing. So I've been reading on the CBD oil, and it just seems to get more, it helps more. All the kids that I've seen, they're doing so much better, everything, and I don't know, I just feel like if everybody's saying, oh, it's not FDA approved, well, there's a lot of medications that's not FDA approved that children, adults, whoever uses. That don't, sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. I just want my daughter and all the other kids, North Carolina, any other state, just to have the chance to try it, to see if it's working for all these other kids. It could work for her. It could save her life. It could help her start walking like she's supposed to and talking. The words I want to hear is mama. Mama, 3 years I've had her, and I'm not her mom. But just hopefully, we pray that please just let us try it. Please let North. I've found all these other families that are trying the cannabis oil and all this, and it seems to be working. And I just don't understand why, if it's saving lives, it's saving children. I've had to watch my daughter sit there and not breathe and panic. If it's going to save her life, why can't they do it?
This is Zora. She has Dravet, which is a genetic form of intractable epilepsy. She has cognitive, developmental, and behavioral delays.
We've tried every drug known possible through our neurologists, and so far nothing has worked. Our neurologists would like the option to try CBD oil. However, our laws in North Carolina are stopping them from doing it. They're the most educated doctors we have on this planet, and why our laws stop them, I can't understand that. I hope that in a couple of years I'm not having a different conversation where this disease kills her because she was unable to get the treatment that our doctors want to give to her. So I'm just asking, please, this is common sense, vote for this. Make this happen here in North Carolina. Don't make us move. We can't move. We can't afford to move. We've already exhausted everything, and we need you to help us.
All the medicines and diets and treatments that we've tried have not worked. And you start to lose hope. And then you hear about something somewhere else that people are having amazing results with. And it brings a little hope. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. So it starts bringing things alive again.
We're just asking that you please vote for this. We need this. Our families do need this. It's put a big burden on all of us, and now it's even more of a burden having to fight to get our legislators to act. So we shouldn't have to do this. Our doctors want this. They said they would treat her with this if
it were legal.
If it were legal. They know better than anybody. It comes from a plant, just like a lot of other medicines. And I don't want to be having this conversation in a couple of years from now, because this has either made my daughter dead or brain dead. And then it's going to be a whole different conversation. Our doctors hold an oath to treat children and treat their patients to save their lives, and they're being withheld from doing that, from upholding that oath.
It's immoral to withhold treatment that is showing that is working in another state. Zora is at increased risk for death, and each seizure causes more brain damage. So time is of an essence. We can't wait years for someone to think about this. It needs to happen now.
We just please do it now.